What's up, everyone? Before we get into this review, please like and subscribe. That is the best way to support me for free. I'm also going to be hosting giveaways very soon, so go ahead and check those out when the time arrives. Turn on notification bells, you guys do not miss out. Let's talk about the Indigo Disk DLC. It's been a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, but I had to play this game to its fullest potential, of course, aka completing the Pokédex, doing all the tasks, and just exploring the area provided to us, to begin with. So what do I think about this DLC? To be honest, I'm a little conflicted in giving this an actual grading, but probably once this video is over, I'd probably give myself a rating depending on how things are. But let's go over some of the stuff that stand out for me. And of course, me who play video games, every day, graphics and performance is still an issue with this game. As I'm roaming around my Miraidon, probably you can see on the screen, you can still see, you might argue that everything does look fine, but while I was exploring during the story portion of the DLC, my frames just started jumping, and you probably didn't see that right there, that just happened, but there's been instances where there would be a freeze frame, and it takes like about 1 to 3 seconds to get out of it, and I was a bit scared that my game was actually going to just shut down completely, and not really a big fan of that. I thought they would have the audacity to at least fix the game, but here we go. Every time, man. Every time they want to do something cool, they just seem to mess it up for us. But I will say, the graphics and performance-wise, it's still an issue. I don't understand why it's taken them over a year. Not even over a year because they haven't even fixed it yet. But they gotta fix graphics, man. It's very important. Imagine a Pokemon game that could have been a lot better if it's more presentable. If the Pokemon game is more presentable and works flawlessly, which is a rarity nowadays, this game would have been goated. But because of its own downfalls in regards to that department, it just makes things a lot difficult to enjoy this game to its 100% true value. So I kind of wish they fixed that. Now let's talk about the brand new Pokemon. So when it comes to the new Pokemon, I'm actually a big fan of the new Pokemon, and I'm kind of glad that we actually ended up getting some new ones. Iron Boulder, first and foremost, really good Pokemon. Typing is pretty good as well. Signature move, phenomenal. I mean, the fact that you can bypass Protect and all that nonsense, beautiful. Then we got its other Future Paradox version, Iron Crown. I think Iron Crown, out of all the 4 new Paradox Pokemon, I think it's the weakest one, but I still like its design. I still like its moves. Its signature move allows you to attack twice or hit twice. Other than that, I think it's pretty cool. And the fact that it's just standing there menacingly is kind of interesting too. Then we're going to talk about the top 2. And I'm going to give Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire, my seal of approval. I thought this Pokemon was going to be kind of ass looking at its design, but its stats and signature move, a priority move, is just absolutely nuts. So kudos to Game Freak and Pokemon for actually making a pretty good Pokemon. And then we got Gouging Fire. I think this Pokemon, if this Pokemon was to be in competitive play, it's going to be low-key kind of busted. Like the fact that it has a move that enables you to get burned if it hits directly. It's kind of like a Protect with King Shield, or I should say King Shield with the burn, ability rather than, the attack decrease. But the fact that this Pokemon is bulky as hell, can hit pretty hard, and is probably one of the best users in the sun. Arguably, it's going to be the best Paradox Pokemon because it's just, overall, it's just a menace. And if you're playing unofficial metagames, this might get banned very soon. But, who do I know? Overall, the new Pokemon, Archelodon, I'm a big fan. Hydra Apple with Fickle Beam is just nasty. I like Archelodon because it gives rain teams a lot of problem fixing when it comes to rain. Because a lot of times rain is very predictable. But with Archelodon, it just makes things a lot easier. And I might be skipping out on some new Pokemon, which I don't think I did. But overall, I like the new Pokemon that were introduced into the DLC. Now, let's talk about certain moves. Now, there are some new moves. Rather than giving us a move tutor, they decided to just give us, um, new TMs that enable our Pokemon to learn new moves. Some of the new moves are actually interesting, and I do think in terms of a competitive aspect, they are pretty helpful. Obviously, they're more catered towards VGC, as singles tends to get the shaft, and I'm going to talk more about that later on in this video. Overall, I think the new moves are pretty damn good. Now, let's talk about the story. Is the story of the Indigo Disk worth it? No, I don't really think so. You're only going to get this DLC just because you just want new Pokemon, new moves, and maybe you just want the most updated thing in Scarlet and Violet, which, you know, that happens to be the case for me as well. Let's talk about the story. And first, I'll talk about Miraidon. So they didn't forget Miraidon, and they decided to give Miraidon this ability, the ability to essentially fly, which is really cool because it makes traversing a lot more easier rather than relying on, you know, riding around. And if you like flying, like me, it makes things a lot easier to access areas that tend to be problematic to climb up, dive down. Now, this solves everything. You don't have to waste your time, and you can just glide like literally a Miraidon. So now, I'm going to talk about the main story. I personally am not a fan of this story because first and foremost, the length is just too short. Like, you can finish the story, quote unquote, this game in probably under 3 hours. I have a feeling like the Crown Tundra might have been a lot longer because there's more places to explore, and traversing in Sword and Shield is completely different from this game, where obviously it's more catered towards an open world kind of mechanic. So you get to see, you know, old characters, new characters. One very important detail that really stood out to me was the fact that this DLC is giving us heavy hints that Generation 5 remake or some sort of Generation 5 remake is going to come, because the fact that the Wild Pokemon, you know, theme song is Gen 5, literally, and the trainer battles as well is Gen 5 as well. Very heavy Gen 5 tunes and hints. So for sure, I know at this point it might be a 50-50 chance we're going to get Generation 5. So obviously they're catering towards that. And a lot of the trainers and a lot of the Pokemon that you see here, Gen 5. I mean, at this point, it's like calling the sky blue. So it's bound to happen. In regards to the story, Terrapagos, which was the new legendary Pokemon in this game, this Pokemon is kind of broken. And the fact that we ended up getting a new 19 type, Stellar type, I'm still kind of confused as to why they actually gave that to Pokemon, considering that terrestrialization itself is already kind of like broken. But with Stellar typing, it enables you to, you know, bypass certain matchups. Again, that's just mostly competitive. I think it's kind of a big boost to competitive play, but I overall think terrestrialization on its own will be just fine. They made it to the point where Stellar typing isn't broken due to its limitations, so that kind of balances out things quite a bit. And so now I'm going to talk about the overall, you know, image of Indigo Disk. What do I feel about it? For what it's worth, you technically don't need to buy this if you want to just collect the Pokemon. My biggest issue with this game is the graphics, of course. And then there were reports coming out saying that the legendary Pokemon that you can catch in this game, like, you know, Rayquaza and Ho-Oh, Lugia, whatnot, they were shiny locked. All of them are shiny locked, which that's a really big slap in the face. Like, considering that if you don't own previous generation games, yeah, tough luck if you want to get them shiny. But I guess what I'm assuming Game Freak was trying to do is that they're trying to essentially figure out that, hey, if everyone has Pokemon Home and they have at least one copy of previous generation games, there wouldn't be an issue if we can just shiny lock them, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, you feel like, you know, you bought this DLC. That wasn't an issue with the Crown Tundra. The Crown Tundra Dynamax Adventures, at least they gave us something refreshing and gave us the opportunity to get a shiny Pokemon. But this wasn't the case here. We didn't get any new Terra Raid mechanics. It's just simple turret raids, you know, all around the DLC area. Like, it wasn't like Dynamax Adventures. And the fact that they're shiny locked is slightly disappointing. I think that's like kind of like the biggest slap in the face for Pokemon fans in general, where they're expecting DLC to be refreshing, you know, revitalize interest in Pokemon. But then they do stuff like this where I'm just not really a big fan of that. And just seeing that, and that was probably like the biggest complaint when it came to such problems that people were seeing in this game. I do like the Terraniums, the way that they're, you know, presented. I feel like they have more, or I should say, there's more flavor and more, you know, visual appearance with these Terraniums than there was with Paldea. The story overall wasn't that great. The graphics are still terrible. New Pokemon are pretty good. The new moves are pretty good. The new mechanic behind stellar typing is pretty good. What do I got to give this? I don't know if I can give this an actual grade. Maybe I'll just give it a grade instead of a number rating, because I think number ratings are just way too specific. I'd probably would give the DLC, I'd give it like a B minus, an 8 out of 10. I think it's a B minus. I feel like they definitely need to work on way more things with this. And of course, this game is pretty much going to be a prelude to Generation 5 remakes. I really hope they do not mess up Generation 5 remakes the way they messed up Generation 4. As long as you keep everything intact, as long as you know, just up the graphics, enough with this nonsense of stuttering frames and just whack-ass storytelling, I think overall Generation 5 has something coming for them. But to say the least, this DLC, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't something that I expected to be. And I expected it to be at least better than what we saw in the Crown Tundra. But here we are. You know, I'm just a PokeTuber. You don't have to take my word for it. You can go get it yourself if you want to play it. And that's all there is to this review. Let me know what you guys think. I didn't want to talk too much about this due to the fact that, you know, a lot of people haven't really completed this yet. Oh, and by the way, in order to get the Paradox Pokemon, that's something I didn't mention, you need to collect 200 Pokemon for the Blueberry Academy Pokedex. So that gives you an incentive to actually catch all the Pokemon. But if you have Pokemon Home, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up there. But anyways, guys, there you have it. Let me know what you guys think about this game, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. It's your boy Franklin signing out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.